Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home and giving time to your studies. Well, dear students, in previous class you were taught about the listening skills. As this course and this class is English language teaching, and your course name is ELT, English language teaching. So as the purpose here in this course is to enable you to tackle all the difficulties when you are a teacher and to make you a good teacher for the future. Alright. So for this purpose, as already you were taught about the different aspects that how to teach and how to plan the lesson. Let me tell you the most important thing, that for teaching English language, your role is to basically teach not only the language. Here basically you will teach the 4 important skills of the language: reading, writing, speaking and listening. So in previous class you were taught about that what is listening skills and what are the important types of the listening skills and what are the strategies which you can employ while teaching listening skill to your students in the classrooms, right? So in this class you will be taught that how to plan, how to develop a lesson for teaching listening skills, because it's very important. Whenever you are going to teach, you must have a proper plan. Without planning, you will go directionless and you will not be able to justify with your teaching and with your students as well. So it's important to plan. So for lesson planning, you were already taught in the previous lecture that how to plan a lesson. When I taught you that how to plan a lesson for oral skills and for teaching the oral and communication skill, at that time I taught you the important component for planning the lesson. So here in this class, I won't repeat those components. I'll just tell you that how you need to plan your lesson for teaching listening skill. So you need to recall and you need to keep in your mind all the important component of lesson planning. So I hope all the components are in your mind, but still I'll again explain while telling you. So let's start from the topic, lesson planning. Here you can see a sample of the lesson planning. Keep this point in your mind that whenever you will be the teacher, you will receive different formats in different universities, in different colleges, in different schools. Different types of the formats are followed for lesson planning. So whatever the format is, in every format objectives are required. Sometimes in some formats, instead of objective, the name is written aims, but aims and objectives are the same. So objectives, basically what are your objective of teaching that particular lesson, what you want, why do you want to teach that particular lesson. So you need to mention the objectives. Here I'll explain you the lesson planning while keeping in mind one example, that with one topic, that for example if you are preparing the lesson for teaching shopping to the students, because your purpose is basically to develop the listening skill of the students and the topic is shopping. So your objective would be students will be able to understand the simple conversation and acquire the listening strategies, right? After that, the number of the students in somewhere it is considered important or not, but that is not specifically the mandatory part of the lesson plan. But English level is very important. Along with this class, the grade is considered very important, because the lesson you will plan keeping in mind the level of the students and the grade of the students. Similarly, when we talk about the level of the student, then vocabulary level can be considered, but this is again not a mandatory option. Time duration. While teaching you lesson planning, I taught you the time duration is very important. If you are going to plan a lesson for the class of 35 minutes, then you need to keep it in your mind how to manage the time, how much time you need to describe and explain and give instruction, how much time you need to give activity, and how much time you need to wind up and evaluate what basically you taught in the class. So If the time is basically 2 hours, here I'm basically going to explain you keeping in mind the 2 hours, but keep it into your mind. Not necessarily every time you will be given the 2 hours for specific topics. Sometimes 35 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 1 hour and 20 minutes, and sometimes 3 hours. So whatever the time duration of your class is, you need to keep it in your mind while planning the lesson. Materials in the component of planning lesson, I taught you the material is basically the sources, that which things you will use while teaching to your students. You need to mention the songs, the handouts, the websites. You can mention the whiteboard, the LED if you are using, the sounds if you are using the classroom, or it can be the projector. So whatever you are using for teaching, you can mention here. Evaluation, so activities, assignment, interaction, attendance, whatever your evaluation criteria is, you need to mention here. So in introduction, basically here you will introduce what you are going to teach to your students, but definitely while in planning the lessons, you don't need to completely write the introduction, but here in introduction, I'll tell you some of the listening skill tips. Listen to something you enjoy. So when you are listening for the purpose of enjoyment, by listening to something you enjoy, you are also likely to know a lot more of the vocabulary required. Listen for keywords. If you are listening for keywords, use keywords or key phrases to help you understand the general ideas. Listen for context. So if you focus on the word tuner, you might become frustrated. However, if you think in context, you probably will understand that what is going on. So in the start of the class, you can introduce, you can elaborate, and you can give some tips to your students. Well, procedure. While planning the lesson for listening skills, procedure is that you need to divide the time first of all. For instance, when you are going to teach a class of 2 hours, so you can give 15 minutes to warm up, you can give 20 minutes to activity 1, you can give 30 minutes to the second activity, and you can give 30 more minutes to third activity, and last 25 minutes you can give for evaluation. So you need to mention these points into a lesson plan. So in the warm-up, definitely in the warm-up, asking some questions about shopping experiences and situation to the students. When do you go to shopping? Where do you go to shopping? And how do you bargain with the sales clerk? Then students share their own experiences or opinion with the teacher and the classmates. This is basically a warm-up activity you can add in the start of teaching. If you are teaching the shopping, or if you are teaching any other topic, then definitely in the warm-up session, you will ask questions related to your particular topic. So after warm-up and the explanation or description, you will definitely move towards the practice activity, because activities are very important. Whenever you are teaching reading, writing, speaking, and listening, at that time it's very important that you need to provide more and more activities to the students. So the exposure and practice basically makes the man perfect. So in activity first, you can give the vocabulary, because in listening skills, as in previous class, I taught you that vocabulary is very important, and for designing the activities, you need to design 3 types of activities: pre-listening, during listening, and post-listening. So the pre-listening activity, the handout, and number 4, the listening again, check the answer. So for vocabulary, you can show the images, and then you can use the sounds to tell to the students, just to make them familiar with the particular vocabulary. It's very important. And for pre-listening, the teacher tried to help students to understand the general ideas by listening at first. So teacher will play the song before giving students the handout. Because when you are teaching listening skill to your students, then it's very important that for pre-listening, whatever you are teaching and the activities you are designing, sounds are very important. Sometime in the form of your spoken, sometime in the form of the spoken of the fellows, and sometimes you need to use sounds and you need to play the song. Songs are sounds for improving and developing the listening skills of the students. So in this activity, you definitely need to give the handouts to the students where they will definitely how much time they can go for shopping, 30 minutes, 80 minutes. Why did they go for shopping? But again, you need to read loud, and you need to basically, you can also display the handout, and you can also play the audio of the handouts for developing the listening skill of the students. So listening again. The students have to listen again after finishing the handout to check their answers, and students will know how their listening comprehension is. This is very important. After that, you can give another activity to the students, the vocabulary activity, the cards activity, and listening clothes shopping activities can be given to the students, and vocabulary activity, colors activities can be given to the students. If the students are of basic level, then definitely for improving the sounds of the colors so that students become familiar with the colors, you can play the audio and you can ask the students to identify the colors, and then after that you can play the audio. And similarly, you can first play the audio and then you can ask the student to select which color has been used in the audio. So you can definitely you can give follow directions to the student, listening and then answer question. You can check answers immediately and listening again to correct and then evaluation. So if you are teaching the topic on shopping online to the students, then again definitely for planning the lesson, as I already told you that pre-listening, listening exercise during listening, and post-listening activities are very important to design while planning the lesson. So how often do you go shopping for the following items, and where do you buy them? Clothing, gifts for friends and family, music, DVD, movies, and electronics. It can improve the vocabulary of the students and also can perform the function of the warm-up activity. And listening exercise, listen to the conversation, read quiz script, and do text completion quiz. This is very important, doing the text completion quiz after listening just to check the listening skill of the students. So post listening with a partner, decide on a particular item you want to buy, then asking students to practice in pairs using the substitution. So you can provide them the post listening activity for just to evaluate their listening skill, that how much they have improved and developed and how much they are improving. So at the end of the class, assignment and evaluation is very important, that what you taught, whether the students understood or not, whether they developed and improved, because basically what were your objective, did you achieve those objectives or not. So for listening conversation after the class can be very helpful. So teacher will test students in the next class. It's up to you. And peer discussion or role play you can assign to the students, and even at the end, depending on your availability of time, you can design and you can decide that how will you evaluate, whether you will evaluate by asking questions, and whether through the assignment which you provided to the students that after listening they need to solve that, and listening conversation after the class, whatever your criteria of evaluation and assignment, keeping in mind the level of the students, the topic, and also the particular time. So in this way you can basically design your lesson planning. So let me show you now a sample of lesson plan, basically a type of format. It depends that which type of format you are basically going to use. But first of all, in lesson plan, you will mention the topic, the class name, the course name, the topic which you are going to teach the students. You will mention the level of the students, and definitely date is also very important, on which date you are going to teach. These are the basic elements, and after that you will add the resources or the materials what you are going to basically use in your classroom. And most importantly, after that are the objectives and the aims of the lesson you will add while explaining, while writing your lesson plan. After that, you will move toward the, you will assume the problems, whatever. It depends. Basically, these are considered the optional element, whether you want to add or not. But compulsory and mandatory component of a lesson plan are those which I taught you. Means the objectives are very important, time division is very important, resources, class name, and the topic is very important. And after that, the most important part, that how will you teach in the classroom, how much time you will give to the introduction, and which activities you will use and how much time you will give to those activities, and how will you evaluate that what you taught, whether that understood by the students or not. So when it comes to planning the lesson of teaching listening skill, then definitely, as I taught you in the previous class, that you need to develop pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening activities. So you need to tell the pre-listening that what you will add here, the time is given, that how much time you will give to this activity, and here you can describe basically the procedure of the activities and further choices which you can add, and the materials can be given here, that which material, PPT slides, smartphone, whatever. And then the comments I told you in the previous class, while teaching you lesson planning, that comments are given after conducting the class. You cannot mention the comment while planning the lesson. You will basically write the comments after conducting the class. You will mention here the comments. These comments will be helpful for you for developing and planning your lesson next time, because here you will mention that, okay, if you have added the activity of the role play and you couldn't get enough time to complete that activity, so here you can manage the time constraints, and next time you need to add any type of activity which you could easily manage in the given time limit. So during listening, and after that, the next part of the particular topic would be the during listening, that which strategy you will adopt, how much time you will give to that particular strategy. Here 25 minutes are given. So it depends on your selection of the topic and your time available, given time of your class. So here you can mention the activities and you can describe that how will you employ and use those activities. You can mention here basically the material and sources which you will use for the while listening strategies, and after that post listening strategies you can describe in this form. So this is basically a sample of lesson planning teaching oral skills. I have already shared a sample for lesson planning. So the purpose behind showing you this sample is that different types of formats can be given to you, but the components are same. In every lesson plan, you will add the objective related to your topic, keeping in mind the level and grade of the class and the topic. In every lesson plan, you will adjust the time, you will add the resources, the objectives, the time division, you will add the activities and the further necessary points. So this is all about lesson planning for speaking skills, for listening skills. So in this class, I basically taught you that how to plan lesson for developing and for teaching listening skill to your students. So it's all about today's class. I'll share handouts with all of you and some samples of the lesson plan of teaching or planning lesson for listening skills. And in case of any query and in case of any confusion, you can discuss with me in the WhatsApp group and even in the classroom discussion. Well, so I'll wind up the class here. Take care. Allah Hafiz.